is it a legal state in New Jersey? You're in New Jersey, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm in New Jersey.
So
Marijuana is legal.
yeah,
They're actually supposed to open a dispensary like a block or two from me,
no
probably
kidding.
by the year I move out. So,
Right.
um, we'll
How many
see. We'll see.
dispensaries?
Huh?
How many dispensaries do you have like around the corner or whatever?
Not
Like,
nowhere in my. So I live in Hoboken. Nowhere in the city of Hoboken because it's densely populated and people are like, oh, the
right?
smell and the trash and parking.
Oh my
There
gosh,
being,
yeah,
there's just a few
yeah,
boomers here who need to get over it still.
yeah.
But it's gonna happen. The ordinance passed. It's gonna happen eventually. But there's
There's
probably one 25 minutes from me, another one about 30, 40 minutes. Like there's some in North Jersey, just
right.
none like within. I gotta drive to get there.
They'll be right in your backyard before you know it.
Yeah,
Honestly, because that's how it was here. It was like, all right, we got pulled over. Let's eat the blunt. The cops are behind us. To then, like the rules 360. I mean, then we had 8 dispensaries. It was like overnight. We've got 9 now here in town, but you could walk to them from my office and they're. But
yeah,
the smell, I mean, they've got these grow facilities, but they make sure, like for Missouri, they make sure, like they're way out in the middle of nowhere and they've got a lot of like they got a lot of extra measures, how all that the state goes with not pissing off the public, I guess. I don't know. But
well,
all the
I mean,
rules.
the smell is a silly concern, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it's a valid concern, right?
If
It's
you
like,
don't smoke for
it's
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
is.
Like
It is.
if you
It for
don't
sure is.
smoke, like you can put it in the lease where you can't smoke marijuana inside the building. That's fine. I understand that. Like,
Yeah,
and especially like if the kids around, like I wouldn't want my kids
sure.
smelling weed all the time. So
Yeah,
I get it, but I think the marijuana industry needs kind of it needs to take it into account. It's not a reason to make it illegal, but it is an issue that does need to be addressed.
for sure. And I think that's California and like out west, they're kind of like the lab rats to it.
Yeah,
Because and this is for me, like when I have kids, when and if, I don't want like ashtrays filled up with
right.
roaches from the end of a blunt, like where a kid could pick that up. Because like anytime I smoked a cigarette back in the day when I was like a kid, it was out. As a cigarette out of an ashtray, you know what I'm saying? Like that's you steal them from your mom, just being curious. But I never throw my roaches out when I get done smoking a blunt or whatever. That's the way I feel about it. That's like the safety side, not to let some kid pick it up or something like, oh, what's this?
Right.
But yeah, no, it's there's definitely still some room to grow and learn within the industry, but the smell and whatnot, like I've grown quite a bit of bud and uh they've got it down pat now. Like you can get on www.drgreenthumbs.com, which they've got little air filters. They're carbon,
Oh, okay.
like they're carbon air filters. You can Google them, and they take away all the smell. I mean,
So
literally.
would you just like plug that into the wall in your apartment or your home or whatever?
So yeah, so it looks like a little so you got a grow tent, and that's
Yep.
the best thing is just grow your
Oh,
own.
this is for like the growing stations, for like the
Yeah, yeah,
greenhouses.
yeah, yeah. And you
Okay.
could put it in your house. It's like an exhaust vent.
Right.
Like but for this instance, like I keep a little tent in my office, and grow like 1 or 2 plants, and like
Right.
nobody knows until they watch this podcast. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's and it's not a big deal. It's not. I can have 16 plants. That's a lot. Like
That is a lot. And
I mean,
you're in Missouri?
yeah,
So touche on Missouri, man. I didn't see that one coming from the great state of Missouri. So,
yeah.
talk me through like the weed business, like what it's like for you to get a license to grow weed, start the business, and like how you grow the plants, get the resources. Just walk me through everything about starting a weed business in
Yeah,
Missouri.
yeah. So we'll go through. We'll start with the growing side of it. That's I've always been an agriculture or a green thumb. I've always been around farmers, and my parents, they always had a garden, so I've always known how to grow something. And so like with growing, it's a weed. When
Right.
you break it down, it's just like any weed. It's doesn't take much. but to grow some of this fire that they got today, I mean, you really got to nurture that plant. So with me, it's a two a day thing. I mean, morning and evening, and like they're just like these plants are just like people. They need sleep. They need sunlight. You got to feed them. You got to do this. You got to do that. But growing, it's a lot more than what I thought. It was going to be. I thought I was just going to stick a plant in the dirt and well, and start growing and
Right.
voila. But no, it's I've really got into the science of it, and I've helped people with facility, like facility size grows to, large grows to micro grows, like something just like in your closet, one plant. And for me, what works best is just keeping it legal, really, honestly, just not doing something crazy where you can't because keeping up with your product is the main thing, and just making sure you got the top notch quality. And that's one thing that I try to emphasize. And my sister, she works in Arizona, like one of the largest dispensaries or the best dispensary, whatever, in Phoenix. And, so I get a lot of 411 from her. But yeah, I mean, it's there really ain't much to it. You got to put that damn seed in the ground. Once it starts sprouting, it is crucial that first month, like when it's a little bitty popping out of the seed sprouting, you've got to really tend to it. You wouldn't think so, but because it could get too cold. You want to keep your room around 70s, 68 degrees. So yeah, there's a lot to it. Keep it. Like what I like to do is if I'm doing something inside or in a tent, I'll keep 24-hour lights going. Just let that light roll.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have access to do something solar, I would suggest doing that. But other than that, doing it in a tent, like when you got dirt, you're gonna have bugs, and that's like the craziest thing. Like you could be the cleanest person, and it could be winter. For where I'm at, during the summertime, the bugs just are bad, period. And that's with a lot of places. But in the winter here, there's no bugs, right? Well, I mean, you go down to your grow room and you see all your freaking plants just wiltering down, and you might have spider mites, and you're like, well, what the hell are spider mites? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's really neat. I tell you what, if anybody grows, like you should definitely, or if anybody smokes, I highly suggest trying growing, just giving it a whirl, because there's so much value to it, whether it's, just smoking it or eating it or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot harder outside.
How do you deal with the bugs? Because like if you're gonna kill bugs, like how do you deal with the bugs and kill the bugs without killing the plants, or
That's the
or like taking away potency from the plants? If you spray or pesticides,
yeah.
that's not good for the plant either. So
No.
how do you tackle that problem?
So there's some all natural products,
Okay.
and what I do is you're using drippers, like with something like this, like it's organic. I forget what it is. It's like cinnamon and a bunch of like just stuff around the house. Really, I mean, it's all natural shit. You can you add it to your water with your plant food, and you're going to put it in your water. That's what I do. They've got applications to where you can spray that whole plant, but once it starts flowering, once that plant starts flowering, you really don't want to spray that flower you're gonna smoke. You know what I mean? Whether it's all natural or not,
Right.
that's where your taste is gonna get a little bit different potentially. Not always, but what I try to do is a lot of stuff travels from your feet. So like on Amazon, they'll have
Mm-hmm.
like sticky, like when you walk
Right.
in,
No, make that
it
that's very
sticks.
smart. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it sticks straight to it. Because like when you go to these facility grows out in Arizona or California or whatever, like they'll be wearing bodysuits with goggles on. Like it's like, why do you need all that? And they really emphasize everything being sterilized, and they really go far extremes to really make sure that it's all about the germs and the bugs. That's why they do that. I was a redneck about it at first. I just threw, My very first plant, I didn't even go buy potting soil. I just used potting soil from the from the yard, went and dug a hole and, put it in a pot, flowering pot and did it like that. And it definitely, I wouldn't suggest doing that, but it'll work.
All right. Um, any pushback from the state? Like, any difficulty from the state? Like, what's the hardest part of working with the state of Missouri in terms of
So
dealing
yeah,
with all
so
that
really,
stuff?
yeah. So honestly, you can get online. You can just Google whatever state you're in. But for me, it was Missouri, and I just Googled, how to get my license, how to get, my grow license, my cultivation license, and literally it was easy. It was so easy. It was unreal. I paid 75 or 175 bucks. They set me up on with a Zoom call with a doctor, and basically she's talking to you, but she's like, uh huh,
Uh,
uh huh.
no,
I was like,
it's
yeah,
the
I mean,
same thing to get my medical marijuana card in New
yeah,
Jersey.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
she,
it's like $100 a year. Guy hums on it. It's like you need it for sleep. All right, there you go. Here it is.
that's, yeah. So I was like, I've had 4 shoulder surgeries. I've had,
Ooh.
this, that, and that's from baseball. But I was like, I got chronic pain. She's like, well, sleep apnea. You said you got trouble with sleep, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. She's like, well, that's what, and like, turns out that's how like everybody gets their card is from sleep apnea.
Yeah. Well, do you
But
do like CBD for your shoulder?
I've definitely tried it, and CBD it does work. I've got a best friend; they've got a huge CBD farm, and like seizures,
Yes.
that it helps a
A
lot
few
with
drops under the
that.
tongue. It helps a lot with that.
Yeah,
Wild.
and then shingles. Oh my gosh, so
Yep.
shingles.
Shingles
I've never
too.
had shingles, but I've seen this cat that I'm speaking of. Like, he's got these little syringes because it's tincture. It's like an oil that he makes out of it. It's kind of like the butter that you would put in
Uh huh.
the edibles, but it's a tincture that's more of like an oil based for a syringe, and you drink it. You know what I mean. You just pop that syringe in your mouth or under your tongue, and it gets rid of the shingles within like hours. Like, no doctors. Like, I seen him help this older lady, and she had went to the hospital twice. All right, and they just kept telling her, we can't do nothing really about what you got going on.
Right.
So, but she wasn't about the marijuana or the CBD, and the whole family was like, oh, no, 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 we're not doing that. Well, she got to the point where they were going to have to call an ambulance. She was going to need to go back to the ER, I suppose, I guess, and they finally caved in, and she did that, knocked her out. It wasn't the problems, after that. But other than the good and the bad and the ugly of it with the state, I mean, they really don't. As long as you ain't an idiot acting like an idiot, you'll be all right. I mean, like, heck, I had 2 plants at my back door just for shits and gigs. Right when you walk in my back door, I had 2 plants right there, and I mean, nobody really bothers you. Nobody really thinks nothing of it. I mean, the cops are a lot. They're more. What's the word I'm looking for? More understanding. If
Yeah. Well,
you
because
roll,
like
you roll
there's
up.
actually nothing they can really do anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
like,
It's
as long as
what
you
can they
ain't just
do?
smoking it in a vehicle drive and you get pulled over, if you haven't ditched it, you're an
Yeah.
idiot. But
Yeah.
now anymore they can't. So in Illinois, and I'm like 10 minutes if that from Illinois. A lot. It's If they smell marijuana, it's not even probable cause to search or give you
Really.
hell at that. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, yeah. It definitely helps.
I mean, at this rate, it's only a matter of time before it's legalized. I think federally, it's gonna take a while. I do. I think probably by 2030. That's gonna be my estimate.
Yeah,
By 2030, it's gonna be fully federally legalized. State by state, it's going one by one by one by one by one. And honestly, as like a more libertarian leaning person, I think that's totally fine. That's acceptable. Doesn't bother me at all. If Kansas wants to be Kansas, that's Kansas can be Kansas. I live in New
yeah,
Jersey. That's another reason I won't move to Kansas.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a huge libertarian on that, and for that, in fact, I mean, I do what you want to do. I don't care what you do, anything that's for anybody. Like, if you want to go jump off a bridge, go jump off a bridge. I wish you wouldn't, but hey, that's what you want to do. Go do it.
yeah,
If you want to smoke weed, Smoke
A
weed.
lot of wasted energy and people trying to convince others what to do.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
long
I
as
mean,
you're not
like,
hurting anybody else.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like even around here, like, I went outside and I smoked a blunt. You know, you got to pick and choose where you do that, you know, and I do feel that, you know, like the way the law states is you got to be on private property to
Yep.
smoke,
Uh-huh.
you know,
As it should be.
and that's that it should be that way. You know, not everybody wants to smell marijuana. Not everybody likes to smell marijuana, and I mean, some people you got that generation that's like our grandparents or my grandparents that like so totally against it. Like
Yeah.
they'd about fall over if they pass somebody walking down the sidewalk, you know,
Yeah.
smoking it. So I do respect that to the fullest. I mean, and then there's that other instance like you throw your roach out, you know, and some kid picks it up. God forbid, you know, like
Yeah.
they'll be all right,
Don't
but
let him.
like,
Don't
damn,
let
we
him.
don't
Yeah.
want to introduce that, you
Yep.
know, to nobody young.